Welcome to Rise Up and Fix It, podcast dedicated to empowering women.
A podcast that empowers women and the marginalized community by helping them tap into their creativity.
I'm the writer of the book, The Secrets of Becoming a Boss Bitch with a Heart of Gold. I'm a photographer, filmmaker, and producer. People know me as Ms. Monday. My co-host is Inna Koropkina. She's an actress whose work you might know from films such as Dawn of the Dead and Transformers. She's also the founder and the creative director of Jewel Branding Studios.
We have combined our talents and ideas to share tips and techniques on how our listeners can change life for good.
Welcome to our podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about where do ideas come from? Where do they come from? Let's talk about that. Episode 6.
You know how much I love my quotes. I'd like to start this episode with a quote, please.
Go ahead, Inna. I love it.
I don't know who said it, but we can Google it, but it's an important one. Okay. It goes like this. Necessity is the mother of all invention.
Necessity does fuel us to create and, to invent, right?
Mm-hmm. Necessity is the mother of all invention. But to invent something, you have to be creative, or to invent something worthwhile that actually makes a difference and a change in your life and the life of others. You have to be creative.
I'm always trying to find creative solutions. And usually clients are asking me to, provide creative solutions. Like they come to me with an idea. They want photos, or they want a commercial, or they want an ad, or they want, a music video or something. And it's like, okay, what is the image that you want to portray? And how am I going to be able to create that for you? So where does it come from? It's interesting. How do you evoke that within you? Like, how do you get creative if you're not used to being creative? And so I thought about this idea quite a bit last night when I made my notes for today. And a lot of it is about just getting inspired and finding a solution to a problem, like really naming the problem and making it very clear in your mind of what it is that you're looking to solve, and then finding outside inspiration. How do you do that?
I stay open. And so, like what you said, I put the question out there into the universe and go, okay, how am I going to solve this? How am I going to create this specific scene? How am I going to solve an issue when it comes to story structure or flow? And then I go about my day. And then I will read something in a book or a magazine, or I'll watch a show, and then the answers just come out of nowhere. It's really magical. It's living in a state of trust. Actually, early in my career, one of the most memorable moments where an answer just came to me out of nowhere was when I was playing the role of Luda in Dawn of the Dead. The scene where I transform into a zombie while giving birth, I honestly wasn't sure how I was going to play that scene. I thought about it a lot, and there's not much rehearsal you can do in that scene. There's no specific dialogue that I could rehearse with someone. I just had to make my creative choices and then show up on set and play those choices. And I wasn't sure what that choice was. I knew I wanted to create a sense of struggle. There were so many layers to that scene. It wasn't just a person turning into a zombie. There was a pregnant mother desperate to meet her baby. There was that layer of it. And I wanted to create a sense of tension and the struggle to hold on to life. So picture this. It's the day of the shoot. I get picked up by a driver to be taken to set. It was a big American production, and I'm sitting next to the driver, and he's just quietly listening to music, and I'm deep in my own world, thinking, trying to figure out, oh my God, how am I going to play this scene, this dying scene? And suddenly I noticed that my driver is breathing really heavily, like really labored breathing. And he was a bit overweight. I wouldn't say a bit overweight. He was very overweight. And I guess I would say unfit. And so he had a hard time breathing. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. That's how she dies. She has a hard time breathing as she becomes a zombie and she becomes zombified. Like the life force, her breath just leaves her. It becomes harder to breathe. And so
that's life presenting answers. So we talk about trusting that the answers are going to be out there. That this was my experience filming Dawn of the Dead, playing the character Luda, where I'm like, how am I going to have her die? And the universe, God, whatever you call it, something bigger than me told me, here's your inspiration. This guy that can barely breathe next to you.
Isn't that amazing how messages come like that?
Like they have to be open to them.
Mm-hmm. When you are pressed for time and the client needs answers and needs you to be creative really fast, yeah, that could be stressful. If you cultivate trust and sense of being self-assured, knowing that an answer will come, and whatever the answer is, it's okay. I think that's the way to approach it and live.
So for me, this works in my world of photography, but I also think this could work with anyone. I like to create like a mood board, visuals that inspire when it's time to get inspired. So if I'm working with a client, or if I'm working on something like redesigning my house, I find images that inspire me, things that speak to me. So I'll go to Pinterest, or I'll go search the World Wide Web, and I'll find images. Even without a client in mind, I build this when I have free time. It's almost like you're building momentum around the things that you like, and then, collecting that, like almost becoming a collector
of ideas, collector of inspiration. Yeah, that's a good idea. Going back to our previous episode where we talked about senses. So one of your superpowers is one of your senses, one or more of your senses. And so surrounding yourself with those sensual items to inspire you.
And also, like, when I was writing my book, I felt like getting inspired by real life scenarios, going out to a cafe or in a busy restaurant and get inspired in a place that you would naturally feel comfortable in. Cozy, but also connecting with other minds. I actually have a really cool story. I worked at a Tony Robbins event in Toronto, and the energy was just so powerful. And you can physically feel your body shift when you're in those scenarios. It's like going to a concert. When you leave, you feel like you're on fire. Like getting out and changing up your environment can really help inspire you and also help change the energy in the body. So if you are if you're stuck on an idea, get out there, go for a date, go for a run, go hit a concert, do something different if you feel like it's time for you to make a change. When you're in a room with people, you all connect, your brains start connecting. You can get inspiration without even realizing. You can almost be moved in a space just by sitting in a space.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Where do ideas come from? There's three things. There's the approach motivation. So that happens through my work a lot, where it's like a client will come to me and they'll say, I want something. And I'm like, okay, I need to create this for this client. So that is the approach motivation, motivated by a certain approach in a certain direction, because I have to make creativity happen. And then there's the spontaneous evoked idea. Maybe I'm in the shower and I'm thinking of something, and all of a sudden an idea comes to me, or I get inspired because I see someone, and it's not like I'm hired to do that. It just comes naturally. It's evoked within me. And then I feel like an urge to act on it. So it's like, maybe it's to talk to someone, or the idea sparks and I have to go do something, like a spontaneous decision.
Yeah.
It almost feels like,
totally. I can totally associate. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then there's this transcendent idea where it's like, it's your calling. Like, this is your call to action. Like, that this is your purpose in life.
Yeah.
Or this is like your calling. You have to do it. Those ideas are always so deep that you feel like, if you don't do them, your world will suffer. Like, you will suffer.
You'll regret it. Yeah. I wanted to add to that because I've experienced the same thing, but I also noticed that where's the motivation coming from? It could come from the ego, where you want to impress someone or prove someone wrong, or just look good. And then there's the motivation from the true self that is beyond ego, beyond wanting to look good. And so the creative lifestyle involves doing what's right for you without judgment attached from anyone else.
If you can live a life like that, where you're living
Authentic to yourself.
you got it made.
Because what are your values? What are your morals? Are you willing to put those aside and make all the money in the world, but not care about how you're impacting the world? It's a big question.
So if you're not coming from a place of purity and good intention, that's when ego operates. You know, so it's really like, where's your thoughts behind something? Like, is it pure? Is it good?
The intention
The
behind
intention, is it good? Are you doing it revengeful? Like, the more that you can stay good, I think the better your life will be.
As I'm writing my script, one of the storylines that I have is a woman who might have committed suicide. We don't know. That's the mystery in the story. And her husband goes on this journey and he has a lot of questions. And so as a writer, I want to know my facts. I want to know what I'm writing about. And so I got a lot of books on Overdrive on this library app on suicide. And it's an epidemic. Like, not to make things dark. The reason I bring this up is in the book, they talk about this thing called egocide. In the book, the author has done tremendous research into it. And what he's come to realize is that the people that survive this horrible ordeal, this darkness, are the ones that allowed their ego to die. And so he coined the term egocide. And he gives an interesting example of Elvis. Basically died because he wasn't willing to let go of his ego. He kept on believing he's this big superstar, and he just imploded on himself. And so he got lost in his own grandiosity, on his own star power, and then just, yeah.
Didn't he also do a ton of drugs and stuff?
Yeah. So the going back to what we were talking about, like, life happens, crap happens, and you have to face it. Or you can rely on things like drugs and alcohol to deal with it. But in the end, that's not going to help.
Because I know that a lot of people use pot or use
For
drugs,
medicinal purposes, right?
and also for ideas. I mean, if you're looking to get inspired, I definitely do not recommend doing drugs.
Don't do drugs. Your body is your temple. That's our message.
Totally. And it's just the reason I brought it up is just because we're talking about ideas.
Yeah, where do ideas come from? Yeah.
Yeah, and some people do use drugs and alcohol, something. But if you're relying on pot to get inspired, I think that's like outside.
On a daily basis. Yeah.
That's the danger. Well,
my best ideas come when I'm jogging. Awesome. And that's because my brain, this is what I think is happening. My analytical brain is not functioning because I'm out of breath. So just intuition kicks in and I'm just running and I'm listening to rap and angry rap music. I know, it's strange. And ideas come. Everybody's got their thing. Yeah. And wild ideas come into my mind, from like how to finish a scene to a photo shoot idea, video idea, business idea, call a friend. Like my mind is just going a million miles a second when I run. Yeah.
I'm all about the brain. I love, like, once I figured out that your brain is like this transmitter of energy and ideas and how powerful the brain is.
There's really some great books out there on the brain and how to optimize the brain. Lots of research has been done, new discoveries in the last couple of years. There's an author I became familiar with. His name is Jim Quick, and he has written a number of books on the brain and how he trained his brain. He had a brain injury when he was a child and was labeled the stupid kid. And
really?
He went on this journey to optimize his brain. He writes in his books what his routine is, a routine that you can set that optimizes your brain. From like using if you're a right-handed person, using your left hand to brush your teeth in the morning, taking cold showers, using certain natural supplements. I think exercise is part of it. So there is a way to optimize your brain and be incredibly clear and incredibly efficient. Really inspiring guy.
I'd love to read that book.
I remember my acting coach in Montreal. I used to take these acting workshops once a month for 3 days in a row. Warren Robertson changed my life. Incredible man. He would always say, we only use 10% of our brains. Imagine if we used 50, like the things that we can accomplish, the things we could do. I mean, that's the statistics out there. We use 10% of our brain. That's sad. Give yourself an exercise, like pick a problem that is really bugging you that you haven't solved in a while. Write it down, and every morning, sit quietly, think about the problem, and then go about your day and see the answers appear. And then at the end of the day, do like a little journal and keep track of the things that appear in your life that help you solve that problem. It's just putting the attention out there. The answers are out there. They just have to be noticed and acted upon.
Cool. That's super cool.
Yeah. So that wraps up our 6th episode.
Episode 6.
Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for listening to us. We really appreciate you being here. We hope we have provided you with some value. And check out our website for some of the products we have available. I have a list there summarizing the episode and a list of the books and resources that we talk about throughout this episode. And reach out if you have any questions. And next week, we're going to talk about money and creativity. So tune in. We can't wait to share some tips and techniques with you then.
Definitely. Okay. Till then.
Bye.
First, I'd like to mention, yes, listeners, we are both thriving creative women and entrepreneurs. Everything we say on the show are our personal opinions and ideas. We are experts in our own experiences. Yes, if we say something that sparks questions here, or if you want us to expand on anything we discuss here, feel free to reach out or comment in the section below or direct message us depending on what platforms you are on, and we will try to answer when we can.
Welcome to Rise Up
and Fix It, a podcast dedicated to empowering women.